Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back again to yet another episode of You Haven't Seen That podcast, or YHST for short. I'm Isaac.
I'm Elva.
And this is a show where we cover movies on that growing list that we just haven't seen, that have people asking us the question. You haven't seen that? Oh, smooth. Credit. Ding. And I have a ding sound effect. Ugh. God. Toot my own horn, will you? Sorry, I'm still like exhilarated and amped up from the race that we just watched.
Mm-hmm.
What a fantastic. I'm not putting another caveat, another note or whatever side thing on Ari meowing.
That's
If the mic's picked it up. But if not, I'm cutting all this shit out. But can we talk about the race real quick? Verstappen takes lead. Norris comes in second.
I'm more impressed about the Checo and Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso and Checo Perez fighting for third. That was a close ass race.
That was close.
I am amped up, and even though that was a few hours ago, I'm still fucking amped from that race. But this podcast is not an F1. But
Podcast.
check that one out. EFFWON with Dax Shepard.
It's F1 with DRS.
Is it the whole title?
Yeah.
My bad. I only listened to one or two episodes, but it's fun to check out. But this is not that podcast. This is a movie podcast. Last few weeks, we went one over, and we did all of the Halloween as much as we can get. Right, spooky. Now we have to pull out of it, but we're not. We're gonna. It's gonna be a nice. What I'm trying to say. We're gonna do a complete 180 instead of serious spooky stuff. We're doing
Funny.
In fact, I didn't know that you hadn't seen our next movie, which is Kingpin. That's right. 1996's Kingpin, starring Woody Harrelson, Randy Quaid, Bill Murray, and Vanessa Angel. You know who else was in it?
Who?
Lynn Shay.
No way.
Yeah. Well, you don't even remember who Lynn Shay is. She was in Insidious. She's Elise.
Yeah.
So we're having this little thing where, like, movies that we cover, there's people cross-starring in them. And I love her as a landlady.
She's creepy as a landlady, for sure.
So I have seen this movie, but you, my dear, have not seen this movie.
I have not.
Why have you not seen this movie? Pourquoi?
I don't know.
May I remind you that you're under oath?
No, I'm not. Plead the fifth.
Play the fifth. Why haven't you seen this movie, dear? Didn't know it existed?
I didn't know it existed.
Are you a comedy fan? Are you a comedy movie fan?
I like comedy
More
movies.
specifically, are you a Farrelly Brothers fan?
I don't think I've seen enough.
Well, let me enlighten you. So the Farrelly Brothers, for those who listen to this show, I am pretty sure you know the Farrelly Brothers because they did movies like Dumb and Dumber, Something About Mary, Me, Myself, and Irene, just to name a few. And that is like their golden era. So this movie came out in 1996. Specifically, it dropped on July 4th of 1996. That's just a few years, 2 years after Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, I seen Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I should hope so. Oh, man.
It's a cardigan, but thanks for asking.
Yeah, Bob and Peter Farrelly, they made this movie, and I'm going to tell you something about it after we close out, after we hit the end credits.
Okay.
Because as much as I love it, or people who love the Farrelly Brothers love it, not a lot of people originally liked it, but we'll get into that later.
Ooh, okay.
But a little something about this movie is the budget of this one is $25 million.
Oh.
Yeah, but it only made $32.2 million.
Oof.
Mm-hmm. Oof, indeed. So it would be deemed a cult classic.
I did read that once it did hit, I guess back then with the VHS.
Yeah, once it hit tape, yeah.
Yeah, it made more than the movies in the theaters.
I also think the Farrellys, I saw that they kind of blamed it on the Olympics were happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Think excuses?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, the Olympics, like there was really not much to watch back then, and so the Olympics were a big event.
Yeah. All
right, I'll give them that. At this time, you have heavy hitter actors. Woody Harrelson at this point, who plays Roy Munson.
Mm-hmm.
He had already done Cheers.
Okay.
And he had done White Man Can't Jump, Indecent Proposal, Natural Born Killers, just to name a few, but around that time. So he has done kind of some comedy, but has also done some heavy drama. So to do like a Farrelly Brothers movie is a kind of fun mix of the in-between. Because the one thing I noticed in this movie is that it was well acted. The comedy wasn't overly done. It wasn't super tongue-in-cheek, even though it's a Farrelly's Brother movie, which borders that line of cartoonish, like impossible
Yeah.
happenings, and like some good heart of the movie. Even though the synopsis of the movie is a washed up bowler with a hook hand takes on this quote unquote kid.
The hook
Yeah,
hand.
this one quote unquote not Polish,
Amish.
Amish kid who is played by Randy Quaid, who's what 11 years older than Woody Harrelson. So throughout the entire movie, they keep referring to him as kid.
Yeah.
The kid really loves you, and he's like so old, but that adds to the comedy of it. This whatever 6 foot, I don't know, 3-4 tall dude in his mid 40s. And speaking of him, Randy Quaid, who plays Ishmael, he at this point had already done some of the National Lampoon Vacation movies. This movie also came out around the same time as Independence Day.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I totally forgot that he did a season, or I don't know how many seasons, but he was on Saturday Night Live. So
interesting.
yeah, good acting chops. And he does this amazing thing as his character of maintaining being like a really sweet and good-hearted, doe-eyed, boyish, middle-aged Amish guy, and at the same time, such good physical comedy from him. At least that was my takeaway.
It was.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. And then, of course, Bill Murray as sort of one of the villains. What a sleazebag. The character of Big Earn. But I don't know if you knew this, Jim Carrey was the first choice by the Farrelly Brothers
Oh.
to play Big Earn.
Oh.
I don't know exactly why they didn't choose him, but in the end, Bill Murray, who's always known for improvising his lines, knocked it out of the park. And there is not a moment when Bill Murray is on screen, and I wish we had more of him on screen, that it wasn't absolutely hilarious. It wasn't perfectly acted, or it wasn't perfectly comical. I mean, again, let's go down his roster, or let's go down his filmography. He is an SNL alumni. He had done Caddyshack at the time, Ghostbusters 1 and 2. He did Stripes. He did What About Bob? Groundhog's Day. He has his acting chops. He's a big hitter.
Yeah.
And this is around the time where he starts slowly stepping away from comedies and starts moving towards, like, Wes Anderson started to use him in most of the stuff.
Yeah, he's really good there.
And so I'm glad that we got him in this movie, because there's not, like I said, not a moment where I didn't love hating the character of Big Earn. And then rounding it all off, Vanessa Angel plays Claudia. She was known for like some bit parts in shows in the 90s, but I guess one of her bigger credits is playing Lisa in the show Weird Science in the 90s.
Oh.
Never watched it.
Never watched
I don't know.
it. Yeah, I know.
But she was gorgeous. She's an English actor. So enough of my babbling. That's what I know about the movie. What do you know about this movie? What did you know about it before going into it?
So I had the total opposite of what it was, and told me, what's comedy? Like, okay, bowling, I'm in.
And as far as comedy, what kind of comedy did you think that it was going to be? Did you know this movie was in the 90s? I imagine.
No. I was just like, I don't even know when this movie came out.
Yeah. Did it surprise you at some moments how tongue-in-cheek, how slapstick, how punny and innuendo? Like, that was the other thing, is I miss comedy like this, but as much as I love the Farrelly Brothers and all of their comedy and them sort of like changing comedy movies, they had done a bunch more stuff like after this, but there was just like this early 90, mid-90 era of this type of comedy where it could only exist in this decade. Because after Me, Myself, and Irene, some of the other stuff that had came out, like Stuck on You, and I can't name some other ones, but it was starting to go, starting to kind of like, okay, we have to either be more PC, or it just isn't landing in today's society. And I miss back then, but I'm glad that we at least got this movie, because it's fucking funny. It's on the top.
Hilarious.
It's on the list of like top most loved comedy movies. And do you think rightfully so after seeing it?
Yeah. My answer is yeah.
So excited. Hi, this is YHST After Dark. Want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
So the movie opens up in the lovely little town of Ocelot, Iowa in 1969 at the Munson Service Center. And there you see little young Roy Munson. He's asking his dad, "Hey, Dad, can we have a game before supper?" And you're like, "Oh, this kid's gonna play catch."
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and this I love these types of jokes. There's different types of jokes throughout the entire movie. One of them is like subverting your expectation. You don't see it coming, and then it just happens. So then you pan out, and instead of playing baseball or catch, he's bowling at this like outdoor, homemade, almost looks like a bocce ball kind of
backyard.
Yeah. And his dad's like complimenting about how good he is, and he's telling him that just whatever happens, be a decent, moral, good man. And then we cut to 1979. And it's after he wins the state amateur championship, and everyone's celebrating him. He's like a town hero.
Mm-hmm.
He has the world in front of him at his fingertips, literally, because he's a bowler.
A good opening song too.
Great hair too, huh?
Oh my God.
And everybody freaking loves him. And so he's kind of like putting on an exhibition, whatever. I think at that point, did he win $1,500? No, that was after, right? And he celebrates by like, rolling one down the lane. And it does this impossible thing that could only exist in comedies, which is like the ball stops and he drops down in the splits and the ball continues going.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So many of these things are just so dumb, but it's like well executed, and you fucking can't help but having a giggle, a chuckle, a laugh. And his dad is in the crowd, and he's just so proud of him, and he's super supportive. I wish my dad was like that. and he gives him his pocket watch, but he said it hasn't worked in years. And then we cut to Bill Murray, our first introduction to Big Ern. Was it Ernie McCracken?
Mm-hmm.
Big Ern McCracken. And Bill Murray has this like wonderful perm. I hear perms are coming back. Do you think I should get one?
No, you should not get one.
Because in a few years, I'm going to look like Big Ern at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Come over, flopping over.
The big old flop on the side.
The hair in this movie.
Falling out.
The hair in this movie like should play its own characters from Ishmael's hair, his like Dutch haircut, to Woody Harrelson's like terrible comb over.
Oh my God.
And Bill Murray's. Oh, it's so disgusting. Nothing against male pattern baldness, but get rid of it, man. Shave it. What do you think?
Shave it. But he did shave his head and grow like the comb over.
Did he really do that?
Yeah.
I was wondering that towards the end of the movie where you get a good view of the back of Bill Murray's head. And I was like, there's these head wrinkles. Like that's that type of detail that if they put a prosthetic on, I was like, that's a good job. Or is it just real?
It was his hair. It's his. Because throughout the whole movie, I was like, that is not a bald cap with like some hair flopped over.
Wait, is that actually his hair?
Yeah, it's his hair. So that's why it looked real when it like
did.
flopped and moved around instead of it just being like kind of stiff.
This is a bit of a little bit of a tangent, and then we'll get right back to the story. You always hear about like, oh, so and so was supposed to be cast for this role in that movie, but all these other circumstances happen why they didn't get it or why they were denied it, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do wish we lived in a world of like what if, Marvel's what if, or if you like Futurama, the what if machine.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what that performance, what that movie would have been like if Jim Carrey were the lead.
Ooh, I would love to see if it was Jim Carrey and Chris Farrelly, because Chris Farrelly was supposed to be Ishmael.
That's right, Chris. Oh, what if in a world where we didn't get the original this cast, instead we got Chris Farley as Ishmael, Jim Carrey as Big Ern, and do you know who was tapped to possibly play Roy?
Who?
Michael Keaton.
Oh my God. Stop.
Would have been a very different movie.
They would have.
But they all, have done comedy, so I think it still would have been good. It would have been a different movie though.
I think it was good this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just a what if machine. Anyways, let's get back to the movie. Let's get back on track. So, like I said, we're introduced to Bill Murray and his wonderful perm, but he's narrating at the Odor Eaters Champ.
It all comes down to this role. Roy Munson, a man-child, with a dream to topple bowling giant Ernie McCracken. If he strikes, he's the 1979 Odor Eaters champion. He's got one foot in the frying pan and one in the pressure cooker. Believe me, as a bowler, I know that right about now, your bladder feels like an overstuffed vacuum cleaner bag, and your butt is kind of like an about-to-explode bratwurst.
Hey, do you mind? I wasn't talking when you were bowling.
And Roy beats him. But right from the get-go, you realize that Big Ern is nothing short of a sleazeball. And Bill Murray plays a sleazeball or a scumbag so fucking well. And there's never a moment with any scenes with Big Ern McCracken, that there's ever a redeeming quality about him. He sucks through and through. He's a dick. He's an asshole. He's a scumbag, a dirtbag, constantly.
Lowest of the lows.
But you kind of love to hate him.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the few characters that I love to hate. The only three characters that hate him are Claudia, Roy, and Ish. Everyone else sees this like charming dude.
Oh yeah, with the for some reason they see him with the beautiful hair and
Hey, sometimes if you have enough confidence and personality, it goes past your bowler's gut and your male pattern baldness. I had such a good laugh when it cut to later. Roy, his engine had blown out, so he's at the mechanics, and the mechanic's like, no, yeah, your engine, it's blown.
Sugar in your tank.
Yeah, it's sugar in your tank, and look, taste it. He's tasting the oil and makes him taste it. Just a simple, good little gag. Yeah, and then what is it? Big Ern pulls up.
Yeah,
and he, again, just constant sleazeball, but taking advantage of young Woody Harrelson.
He's like naive.
Roy. Yeah, again, super naive, and I love the way that Woody Harrelson plays young Roy because of that like contrast of later when he's just a complete dirtbag, almost as bad as Big Ern, because he is later on he's scamming his way through life.
Oh yeah,
and this movie is so quotable when Roy and Big Ern at the diner, and Big Ern's offering him like how to make some money on the side and stuff because that engine blowout cost him $2,000. And he
didn't have enough.
He didn't have enough, and he's trying to make it through like the professional championships. Like, yeah, he won state and he has a ring, but he has to make his way through.
It seemed like he was traveling to all these. Yeah.
So he offered him an opportunity and supplemental income. Interested?
Interested?
Like I said, this movie's quotable as hell. That line that he tells the waitress.
Do me a favor, will you? Do you mind washing off that perfume before you come back to our table?
Like, what a shitbag line. And if that's actually like an improvised line, creme de la creme.
Oof.
Again, inside baseball, like I take so many notes and I highlight my stuff, and my quotes, I have them like green highlighted. I have so many lines of green because it's just a very, very quotable movie. When I was doing my research earlier, it was just this entire, however many pages of like quotes from Kingpin.
Oh yeah, I saw you scribbling down. I'm just like, okay.
So good. And to add to the scumbagness of Big Ern, he flirts with everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Not you. Hi.
Hi.
The old lady right there. She's like, ooh.
Like the older lady. So now we're at a bowling alley at night, and now they're going to run a scam, but Roy is so innocent. He doesn't want to, so he's sort of dragging his feet about it. And Big Ern, being a dick and a manipulative son of a bitch, manages to convince him. And he's like, good, I'm flip-flopping.
Fine.
Yeah, good flip-flop. And so they pose as dictionary salesmen, and they're flashing their money. What do they have, like $1,500? Yeah, right, the $1,500 from the odor eaters thing. And part of the scam is they're supposed to seem like they have got a bonus, and Roy, he wants to bowl for some money. He wants to play some money games.
He's a gambler.
He's a gambler. And Bill Murray, Big Ern, has this terrible like Southern accent, and he's telling him, no, you shouldn't. Let's just have like 6 or 7 drinks and get out of here. And of course, they're not drinking. And so the bartender tells them to come back, and they're playing a money game with a bunch of other people, one of which is like a priest. And the priest tells him,
well, you guys got to forgive me. You see, bowling for money, it's my only vice.
And then the waitress comes and brings him his whiskey, and he slaps her on the ass.
Here's your drink.
Oh, thanks, sugar. Okay, 2 vices.
That's still very good.
But they're losing, right? They're losing on purpose, as scams go. And their last frame, Roy has a 6-7-10 split.
Ugh.
It's as difficult or maybe just a little less difficult than like the 7-10 split. Like it's fucking hard to do. And by the way, the thing about the bowlers is Woody Harrelson is a terrible bowler.
Oh, yes. I got another fun fact for you right there.
Yeah.
They actually had to have a stand-in for him for all those bowling scenes.
Really?
Yeah. That's how bad he was.
Because he only got like actually like 2 strikes out of the whole filming process.
Yeah.
And then later on, spoiler alert, later on when Bill Murray is competing against him, he has to bowl 3 in a row and actually got 3 strikes in a row.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I love when Bill Murray plays that type of person who's like kind of sarcastic and like, oh, no, yeah, is that what you want to do? Okay, fine, blow your money. You could have gotten a
okay.
Camaro.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, fine. You know what? I'm not going to sit here and watch you do this. You want to bet on this 6-7-10 split? That's impossible. You know what? Let's bet all your money on it. And then the priests are like, yeah, I'm good for it. And of course, Roy bowls that shit, knocks it out of the park, wins all the money. And they're back in the car and they're tossing the money in the back seat and Roy sees the sugar.
Yeah.
Because it sort of implies that Bill Murray put the sugar in the tank.
What do you have sugar for, Mr. McCracken?
Didn't I tell you to call me Ernie or Big Ern? It's my morning coffee.
Get out of the car, wise guy.
Smash the back of the window and Big Ern says, well, it comes a time in every bowler's life that they got to face the music and they kind of make to get out of the car.
And that bowler is you, right?
And then fucking leaves him. Now, this is part of the movie where it kind of gets dark, but you have to tell this story in order to tell the rest of the story. They carry Roy off, this like sweet, sweet boy, and they fucking put his hand in a ball return.
Oh, my God. I thought they were just going to like
Beat him up?
Yeah, just.
Oh, so you knew nothing about this movie. You didn't know that was going to happen.
I don't know nothing.
What was your reaction about that?
I was like, whoa, that's intense. It
felt dark?
Yeah, a little bit. I was like, okay, well, I mean, you got to pay the price.
What also sold it, too, is Woody Harrelson's a good actor. The scene call for him to be scared, I was convinced. And I was like, ooh, this was a little more gangster than I remember it.
I was like, all right, Kingpin.
Because by the way, like, I hadn't seen this in, I don't know, a decade and some change. It's been a minute. That's why I like doing these episodes where I've seen these movies before and you haven't.
Ooh, yeah.
So, I get to sort of observe it again.
For most of them anyways.
Also, are ball returns kind of known for cutting people's hands off?
I don't know.
Because I remember watching this movie as a kid and we used to go bowling as a family. It made me afraid of putting my hand anywhere near the ball return. Not that you should have your hand anywhere near the ball return, but even as an adult today, if we go bowling, I'm like, no,
I'm good.
That ball return's it's going to yank my anchor. But it's a comedy, and the Farrellys do a good job of immediately relieving the tension, and it immediately cuts to a wood chipper, implying he lost his hand, and then we get another time jump, and it's 17 years later, and we're in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
We're in the present now.
Correct. Yeah, 17 years later, we're in the movie's present, our past. And he smashes the alarm clock with a hook.
Oh.
How disturbing was that hook?
Why did it have like...
The tongs?
Like it just like...
Forceps?
Yeah.
Why was it surgically implanted in his arm? I didn't remember that part of the movie, like from way back when.
I would just thought he had like a little,
Like a sleeve? Like a little like socket thing?
It's after the hook when he like... puts the plastic hand. I was like, that is creepy.
It was really gross. Like they never showed that again. He was always wearing a shirt with sleeves, or he had the rubber hand on top of it. But that hook thing, like, and you see his, that was disturbing. And I think that's the only disturbing scenes out of the entire movie. And the movie doesn't stop with the hook gags or the hand gags. It's just those
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, it's those little things thrown in there that'll get you like a little cheap giggle. And every time he has the hand on, and if somebody like touches it or whatever, it squeaks. You ever notice the sounds that it was making?
Anytime they like, he went to go shake hands, it's always that one. I'm just like, why not the other one?
Oh my God, when he's leaving his apartment and his neighbors are like,
Roy, can you get sick drinking piss?
I think you can.
Even if it's your own?
and we meet
The
Lynn
landlady.
Shay as the landlady. And I feel like that lady never gets older. I feel like she's always been that age.
She like just stays
that same
She
age.
plateaued.
I had a Mandela effect where I remember the landlady, played by Lynn Shay, as being this, like, pardon the term, whorish landlady with, like, eyeshadow and, like, lipstick and mascara and, like, blonde hair. I totally didn't remember, or we're in a multiverse and it changed, but I didn't remember her being this, like, greasy-haired, brown-stained,
From smoking.
teeth, plain-looking, homely woman.
With like the dress pajama, like the old.
That, like, clung to her little body. Fun fact about this, though. This is my turn for fun facts.
Okay.
Fun facts brought to you by Isaac.
Lynn Shay is like the brother of one of the producers, and they actually kind of didn't want her for it. They wanted to look at other people, but she really wanted this role. And when she came for the audition for the Farrelly Brothers, they were trying to fend her off because they thought she was a homeless woman, until they realized, oh, this is her? Because she came to the audition with the greasy hair and the stained teeth and the outfit and everything. And they're like, yeah, you got the part. That's how it's done.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And she is so gross, and it works so well.
She gave me the
And I wish we had more screen time with her, but every time she popped up where Roy, like, really doesn't want to go back and pay the piper, so to speak, and she keeps doing, like, the, you know, the tongue between the fingers. Like,
it's
so disgusting.
So gross, like the ick.
And now Roy's making his way to a bowling alley because he's like some vendor. But I had a quick question, because some of the gags right from the get-go of, like, the movie with his hook, is he new to that hook? Because he keeps, like, tearing stuff off and breaking things and ripping his clothes.
It just seems like he just got it.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm just like, what?
But you have to have those gags.
Yeah.
And he's trying to sell the bowling alley owner all these things, and the guy's telling him no. And he's like, well, what about some fluorescent condoms? They're the hula hoop of the 90s. Like, again, this movie's so quotable and so silly with those lines. But after the bowling alley owner tells him, oh, we don't have any novelty vending machines.
You call this a bowling alley?
He's distracted by the crash of pins falling over.
Cue that strike that just...
And he hears those pins. Because Roy, as washed up of an alcoholic and ex-bowler as he is, still a bowler at heart. He still remembers all these things, and he hears that. He hears that potential. He turns around, and then we get to meet Randy Quaid as Ishmael Borg. It never is not funny seeing that Dutch boy haircut. Like, what was your reaction to it?
I was like, oh. At first, I didn't think he was Amish. I thought he was like a weirdo that just liked hanging out in like bowling alleys and just like, you know, it's what I do. Like the version of the alcoholic during the day, just go instead of being at a bar, it's at a bowling alley. Mm-hmm. But when like later on you see him on the bicycle going back, and I'm just like, he's Amish? I was like, what? Explains the hair.
Well, the bowling alley manager tells him, yeah, that guy is Amish. But Roy coaches him for a second and tells him where to step, and he hits a strike, and he's like, sweeter than you who.
And then he just leaves. He just like...
No. He goes, well, Mr. Munson, how do you know so much about bowling? And he shows him the hand, and he goes, look at that. It's like 7-karat gold.
7-karat gold.
Oh, really? I thought that looked like plastic. He goes, no, the ring, not the hand. Ring. And they run that gag a handful of times.
Oh, yeah.
And then he takes off in a hurry. But right after Ishmael tells him that his bowling average is like 267, 270. And so Roy, he wants to coach this kid, you know, ride his coattails. So then he chases after him. And at that point, he's in his car, and Ish is on his bicycle. And he's telling him,
pedaling away.
He's like, I could be your manager. Why would a bowler need a manager? He's like, why would a bowler need a... And he's counting off all the reasons.
Yeah.
And every time he's doing that, his hand keeps squeaking, and it's like so disturbing because he's like...
It's bending.
He's bending the fingers the wrong way.
The squeaks.
I fucking love those hand gags. And then we cut to Roy going back to his apartment, and he's helping the lady with the stroller. I noticed something on the rewatch when I was taking notes.
Okay.
His fly was down.
It was.
The whole entire time. So he looks like a creep. So his fly's down. He's helping this lady lift the stroller onto the curb. He fucking spills the coffee on the baby. He's like, sorry. That'll come out. And the baby
that was hilarious.
And he's like petting the kid with like the claw hand. And then at that time, the landlady's getting mugged by somebody. And I'm like, oh shit. Right. Is Roy going to run away? Like, He plays it up really well, and he splashes a coffee in his face, just chases a guy off. He tells the landlady, like, 9 times out of 10 I would have run the other way, but I'm sorry. Yeah, you're all good. By the way, about the rent. Oh, no.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Her wheezing, by the way, was so disturbing. And you don't have to worry about the rent. He's like, okay. And then we cut to the part inside the apartment, and the mugger is there. It was a whole scam, just so you can get away with some rent. And she's being a nice landlady and is like, hey, I heard you like alcohol. And you son of a bitch. And he's like, what? Huh? Throws the even hotter coffee in his friend's face. That'll be another 500, you bastard.
Oh, yeah. No.
Jumped out the window. Nah, these guys never learn.
But it's what happens after.
Did you expect this part?
I did not.
Because this is quoted a lot.
No, I did not expect this part.
She's freaking out. He's like, well, there's got to be something I can do to pay this rent. And she's like, no. Well, maybe cue the sounds of silence. and panning back from Woody Harrelson, Roy, just vomiting.
There it is.
And it pans back, and the landlady's laying in bed.
Cigarette.
And then she says,
oh, stop it, you. It wasn't that bad. Oh, my little Roy toy. What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
Oh, God. It's more vomit. I was like, okay.
oh, God. But that shot of her varicose veins, she's like,
Oh.
and her loose panties, you see some bush. He looks at it. He turns away.
He vomits. I was like, where's my toilet?
She throws a magazine at him, and that's that moment where he realizes, on the cover it says like, I could win $1 million in Reno from bowling.
Oh, yeah.
So he has to make that money. Goes back to the farm where Ish is as Hezekiah Munson with a terrible fucking Irish accent. Oh, I'm just going into Ohio and thought if he needed some butter churning. So he's sitting there. Ish comes in and he kisses the grandma on the face with her beard.
Oh.
God, I didn't remember that. That took me by surprise.
I was like, no, thank you.
Taking the hair out of his mouth.
Yeah.
What a good little gag. And it's at that point he takes him outside and he's like, look, they don't know about me bowling. Okay, my grandpa used to do that in secret. All right.
They can't know. Please don't tell them.
Yeah. And Ish is like, you better just take off now. Because if you're here tomorrow morning, we're going to expect you to work. And we do things half as more than everyone else. You know, where you guys do 8-hour shifts, we do 12-hour shifts.
But he stayed.
Yeah, you cut to the morning and the kid's like, the bed's made. But I think he took off. And it turns out he got up early to go warm up the cow and get her started.
Morning! Yeah, I hope you don't mind. I got up a little early, so I took the liberty of milking your cow for you. Yeah, it took a little while to get her warmed up. She sure is a stubborn one. Whew.
We don't have a cow. We have a bull.
As
he's drinking from this bucket.
I'll brush my teeth.
What other movie? I think National Lampoon's Van Wilder.
Probably.
With a cum drinking gag.
And he just spits it out. He's like, I'll go brush my teeth. No, like gagging. He's just like, I'm just going to brush my teeth.
But sometimes you're just so disgusted with yourself when you guzzle cum. Not that I would know. What was your thought on that?
I think that's the part where I laughed. I think I was broken for a bit.
Were you like, okay, I'm in for it?
Yeah.
Because that's got to be weird for you where like you're watching a movie that it's a cult classic. It's critically acclaimed, whatever. People love it. But you're like, oh yeah, but do I love it? Because it's in the 90s. So it's dated.
Well, it got me with the music in the beginning. Like,
great music, by the way.
It did.
So much good music.
You saw me dancing on here. I was like, oh my God. And when they put him to work.
Oh, Raising the Barn?
Yeah.
You know what I love about the 90s? A good montage. There's like 4 or 5 montages in this movie.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. And he runs off to the dinner bell at mid raising the barn and it drops and what is it? Thomas, which is Ish's brother, is pissed.
Yeah.
And Roy is
I
like,
don't know where you're from, but here we don't run to the dinner bell. We finish what we do.
Well, you know what they say about not forgiving. Well, why don't you tell us what they say in the Bible? Well, it's against it. Dick. Oh my God. But this disturbing, I think the second most disturbing scene is when Ish and Roy are in the barn. And Roy's trying to convince him, like, come on, we got to do this. We could
go.
We could split the $1 million right down the middle. And at that point, the dad comes in. He's like, can I come talk to you outside, Ish? And he does. But he's like, Roy, can you go ahead and reshoot Buttercup? And Buttercup's this giant fucking horse.
Oh my God. Think about Budweiser horses.
Oh, what are they called?
Clydesdales?
Holy shit. That was a big fucking horse, which made this next part even more heartbreaking.
Oh, it did.
As in the foreground, outside of the barn, Ish is talking with his dad about the bank. They're going to foreclose on like the whole property. They need $500,000. It was a fuck ton of money. In the back, you hear the horse neighing, and you hear a saw going. I'm like, oh, this
not
is
the
so
horse.
dark. And then Roy comes out, and he's like,
I took some doing, but I finally got them off. Where do you keep the new shoes? What, I got a bug hanging? Huh?
oh man.
Oh.
You would have to kill a horse if that really happened.
Yeah.
But later on in the movie, when they cut to the horse, it's like
a miniature horse.
It's so stupid.
Like, yeah, okay.
And so Ish knows that he has to save his home.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes off with the Englishman, who Roy at that point already reveals himself to be this fucking scumbag. And what is it? The girl he has a crush on, Miss Rebecca. She's like, please don't let the English taint your soul or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they run off, and immediately Roy's trying to get him to smoke.
Oh my.
This fucking line, when Ish is telling him, well, it's bad for you. You know, it'll kill you. And then Roy says,
is that right? Who's done more research on the subject than the good people at the American tobacco industry? They say it's harmless. Why would they lie? If you're dead, you can't smoke.
It's typical 90s smoking propaganda.
Smash cut to they're at the bowling alley, and Ish has a... Sorry, I gotta stop laughing. Smash cut, they're at the bowling alley, and Ish has a cigarette in his mouth, and Roy's like, do you want a coffee? He's like, no, I can't do stimulants. And he's like, well, what do you think cigarettes are? By the way, this movie made me want to like have a cigarette, because in every other scene, people were smoking. Like in the 90s was like the end of being able to smoke inside.
Yeah.
If you ever been in a bowling alley and it smells like cigarettes, there's something nice to it.
I don't think I remember if I...
Do you remember the bowling alley in Santa Fe Springs? Where now there's like an Aldi?
I didn't go there.
Oh, dude,
I went to the Whitwood one.
We used to go there all the time. There's so much to this movie. Like I know I'm going into so much detail, but like it's so worth it. Like I get excited with these stupid jokes. I want to try to keep it simple, but fuck, I don't want to miss anything at the same time. Because it's like the stupid joke of after Ish agrees to have a coffee, he's like, okay, well, I'll take an extra large with 2 sugars, lots of cream.
Lots of cream.
Like he's drinking coffee before. So then there's a montage, and they lose the game. They lose to the club players.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ish is like, well, you know, you guys with your 10 frames. He goes, yeah, I told you we do things half as more than you guys. We do 15 frames. We used to play 15 frames with my grandfather. 10 frames. It's for Quakers. It's
Hilarious.
silly. It's stupid, but I love those jokes. At that point, Roy is like, I fucked up. And he's going to dump him off. Now they're like, they're driving at the bridge. And Ish is like, I can't go back home. I can't show my face in town anymore.
I'll be a failure.
Yeah, and so he jumps out of the car. He's like, I'm just gonna go wander. I'll walk to Reno. And then Ish tells him like, well, I sooner be Munson than show my face. And he goes, what'd you say? That's when you learn that the term Munson, his last name, is something that means like, well, to be left up creek without a paddle.
Yeah, and he's like, oh.
And it gets used like a handful of times throughout the movie. It's a more subtle thing in that movie that's so fucked up. Like, dang, talk about like having to relive your failures of having the world at your fingertips and just fucking it all up.
Bam.
I still blame Big Earn.
It's a sleaze bag.
And then Roy looks in the rear view and sees the landlady. He's like, okay,
get back in.
Yeah, that was just Munson 101. And then the thing that you had said was, oh my God, Randy Quaid looks like our friend Doug. And I was like, oh, He's like the same height.
Oh, when he's standing.
Yeah, he has the same like slunch, hunched, like hands on the fists on the hips.
Yeah, and kind of like shoulders rounded forward.
Dude, I couldn't get that out of my head. I was like, oh my God, Doug, are you Randy Quaid's kid?
What if he is?
What if he is?
Oh,
Does he get royalties?
He doesn't listen to this podcast, so he wouldn't know.
Doug, if you listen to this podcast, comment pineapple.
And not the emoji.
Remember I said like the montage?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another montage and he's coaching him. And there's like little jokes here and there, like the nut shot. Like, why is he sitting on the ball return?
Oh, yeah.
He gets hit in the balls. Classic 90s nut shot comedy. But the scene that I have to fucking mention is where they're in the bathroom and Ish is talking with Roy and he's like, oh, he's looking at a news thing. He's like, oh, English bulldog with one testicle for only $500. You think you'd get both? And he's like, look, I'm not going to answer all your questions, okay? He's like, look, I can handle stuff for myself. Cut back. And he's crapping in the urinal. Like, nobody says anything.
Yeah, no one says anything. There's two other people just using the other two.
We just had dinner with my brother, and he works for Parks and Recreations. And I remember him telling me a story of he went to go clean one of the bathrooms and somebody had shit in the urinal. So maybe there was an Amish around.
Probably.
So now they don't have any money. They have to get to Reno. So they tried doing the whole dictionary scam and it goes to pot. But again, this movie's fucking quotable and Ish doesn't drink. And the whole thing of the scam is like his partner is drunk. He's like, sorry, my friend's bombed here. And the bartender goes,
You get that way when you drink ginger ale? Oh, no, he was sniffing glue in the parking lot.
They're like, oh, all right.
yeah. So now we go to, what is it, Stan's house. And fucking 90s villains, right? With the guy liner and the skunk hair.
Oh, my God.
And the slacks.
And oh, is it the suit?
The turtleneck.
Yeah.
The turtleneck. That's how you know you're a bad guy. Oh, you had a good reaction from this scene. They're bowling and Ish is kicking his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to bowl 3 strikes in a row to win. And he gets the 2. But on the third, Claudia, because we already met Claudia, she tries to help Stan out, the bad guy, by like going to the fridge and getting them a couple beers. And she turns around. She's in this like gorgeous white dress.
Mm-hmm.
And the nipples are hard. I don't remember the detail.
Pepperoni nipples.
No, but her nipples.
Oh.
I didn't remember the details of her nipples of like the areola bumps. That was such an attention to detail that like added to it. And then she goes, oh my gosh, where are my manners? Roy, did you want one? He goes, oh, and then Ish goes, oh, sorry, it's okay, Miss Claudia, I'll get it. And then Ish goes to it. He's also wearing a white top and he turns around.
Same thing.
Baloney man nipples.
Oh my God. With the detail too.
The dark baloney man nipples.
The bumps too. And I'm just like, what? Anyways, he gets the last strike.
He wins. Stan's pissed off about it. Claudia fucking, you don't talk shit about your own man. He takes her to the back room, smacks her up. You hear it. And I was like, that's really fucked up. But she gets him back because as he comes back, Stan comes back out and he's paying Roy. Roy kind of accidentally shows that he wasn't really playing with real money. He had like $100 bill wrapped over a stack of 100 of
Monopoly money.
Monopoly money. Bit of a dick move per scams. And they're gonna cut Ish's hand off, make his left hand look like his right hand. And then the lights go out and Claudia, after getting smacked around, because she's a badass. She's an absolute badass. She's nothing short of it. She helps him out. They run out. Cue Goldfinger, Superman. That made me want to play Tony Hawk. But they play that song twice after another escape.
I did notice, yeah. It was the escape music. The getaway music.
Good music in this fucking movie.
I'm sorry, good music.
Cars. I miss 90s car stunts, like practical stunts, when they're escaping and the fucking car like ramps over the hill and just bam, lands with some sparks. But oh my God, I laughed. I remember laughing so hard where Roy's telling Claudia, because she's the one driving like a fucking maniac, and he's like, just calm down. Look, the kid back there is calm, and Ish's face is like completely stuck in terrified mode.
Eyes open, wide.
White knuckling. And then we get like a little cutscene of Thomas, Ishmael's brother, getting sent off to go collect.
Go bring him back.
Why? They didn't say.
I think he went without permission.
No, he went with permission.
He went with permission?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he was taking a little bit too long.
He was barely going to come. I mean, he had to go to Reno. So that one was just sort of like wedged in there, but it was whatever. The thing is, it didn't really lend too much of the story, because then like later on in the movie, he does get him, and like there's like a little joke in there, but then that's that. Was it just to sort of like motivate Roy in his depression? Because again, spoiler alert, Roy loses against Bigger and McCracken towards the end. Was it just for that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're now, all the three of them are at a bar. That whole scene is so funny, because the thing about Ish is he is literal. He's a very literal character.
He doesn't know much.
He doesn't know anything. Even something like, dancing with another dude's girl. Which I blame her, because she asked for the dance. Hey, handsome, right?
Oh, yeah.
He said handsome, not handless. Sorry. Quotable movie. I just found this in research, and I don't know much about sports, but apparently that girl's boyfriend, Skidmark, was played by pitcher Roger Clemens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's also pro athletes in there.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that one.
When Skidmark's friends are circling Ish, that guy going, "You want to kiss someone? Kiss these." So stupid. And then Roy comes to save the day, but he's not going to kick all these guys' asses.
No.
So he looks at him and goes,
Take that, you freaky piece of shit! You don't mow another guy's lawn!
All right.
And then cutscene to the car.
They're driving away, and Claudia's taking care of Ish, and he's like, "Well, they would have eaten him alive or torn him apart."
So thanks I get?
You didn't have to have beers with him afterwards.
Well, I didn't want them to think that we were in cahoots.
Oh, I think you cleared that up when you rubbed Tabasco in his eyes.
He's all there laying miserably. He's like,
But at this point, Roy then agrees that Miss Claudia is gonna help out.
Yeah.
Ish is none the wiser to what Roy's up to. And he's like, "If only I could see you, Mr. Munson, I'd kiss you." Like, Ish really loves Roy.
yeah, he had like a connection with him.
He really looks up to him, and like, but Roy's too much of a dirtbag, too much of a washout.
Yeah.
And cue another montage, a bowling montage, and they're making their money. They're playing a bunch of money games, and now they have Claudia, this hot thing, gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Gorgeously dressed.
Bowling one where she's like different. Every scene was a different dress or different thing until there was one where she had like this little 2-piece like shorts and a little top, and it's not doing anything for the guy bowling, and they're just going.
The farmer.
And it was like a group of farmers, and it wasn't until Ishmael was like, little light bulb pop from here, gets a sheep. And they're like,
distracts him with the sheep, implying, yes, that the farmers fuck sheeps.
Yes.
A good old farmer sheep fucking joke. But at this point now, Ish is now being swayed by all these things. Now he's smoking. He still is not drinking yet, but now they're at the strip club, and now he's dressing differently. He has this like pork pie hat,
yeah.
and like he looks like a real 90s hip hop. You know what he looks like? One of the bullies in Hocus Pocus in the beginning.
Ice.
Oh, in that montage scene, I fucking forgot, and I died laughing when the old ladies that they played against couldn't pay up, so they fucking took her scooter, her rascal.
Oh my God! And they're just driving away with it on the
dicks.
Not on the roof, but like the trunk
on the back.
Yeah.
Even Claudia didn't stop them. I'm like, oh, she's as much of a dirtbag. And then when they're running out, they're trying to run out on Claudia because Roy doesn't trust her. But she's smart. She's really street smart. Again, a badass. And she's sleeping in the car that they're trying to escape into. And Roy tries to convince Ish.
The army evacuated everybody. Evacuated? A big military train derailed, and this whole area is in danger of being contaminated by a huge cloud of shit.
A huge cloud of shit? Wow. God, I think I smell it. Come on, let's go. Come on, Mr. Munson. Hey, everybody, there's a shit cloud coming. Run for your lives.
Cloud of shit coming.
From what I heard in my research, that fight scene between Claudia and Roy, when he finally stoops to her level and she beats the shit out of him.
Oh, yeah.
That fighting scene was pretty good. The stunts in it, like the fucking flipping her upside down, slamming her on the thing.
The punching her in her boobs.
The animatronic tit punching that you can only have in 90s films. You can't have that nowadays.
No.
Where's your good old tip punching fight scenes? But from what I heard tell is like that was up there as like one of the good fight scenes of whenever the Oscars were that year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was up against like Fight Club, and I can't remember the other one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think Fight Club might have just won it, but
It was a funny fight, though.
and then Ish runs off because his friends are fighting. He leaves.
You
a
guys
note.
aren't my friends.
Yeah, and there's like one or two. There's at least two references to things that if you saw that movie in that era, you would get it.
Mm-hmm.
And me being a little bit more cultured, I was like, oh, I know what this is from. But when Ish is walking down the highway and there's a truck full of natives like hooping and hollering, and they throw a bag of trash in front of him, and it slowly pans up to Ish crying one single tear, and you're like, huh? And I turn to you, I go, don't you know where that's from? You're like, no. I go, well, back in the 70s, there was these PSAs where it was a Native American cleaning up trash by the side, and somebody dumps trash and does the same thing, tear. That was the joke.
They also do that in The Simpsons.
Yeah. I remember that too. So it was one of those. Oh, they also do it in Wayne's World.
So now they're on their way to look for Ishmael.
Yeah, and drinking and driving is a thing in the 90s, I suppose.
Oh yeah, and they're stopping at different places. Have you seen this guy with a guy?
Real dumb looking.
Yeah.
And then they're passing through his like childhood town, so they take a little bit of a detour and they like check it out and stuff. But at this point, like Claudia's kind of coming around,
being nicer.
Yeah, because like they're kind of they're both street people, and they realize they got to drop their guards and like trust in one another. Because again, they keep referring to Ishmael as the kid, and it's so fucking funny. Like I remember watching this movie, I'm like, how old is Ish supposed to be?
I don't know how old he is.
They never say, but he doesn't have a beard. He's all smooth shaven. So that you learn more about Roy. Like he hadn't been back in his hometown
for like 17 years.
Yeah, and the old Munson service shop is like it's
gone,
done for, and he's sitting by his old bowling set or whatever, and he chucks the watch that his dad gave him. I was like, dang, he's really given up. Apparently his dad died like 10 years prior.
Yeah, and he didn't even have the guts to come back.
Because he took a 180 from what his dad told him to be.
Yeah.
But they take off and they find him. Where do they find Ishmael?
A strip club.
At Stiffy's. Are there strip clubs around that, or the names are on the nose?
I don't think so.
You have to pay extra to get it on the nose.
And what was he doing?
Stripping. He had some moves.
I'm not gonna lie, he did.
Yeah. Did it move for you?
No.
Yeah, me neither. That whole tongue thing on the pole is like, oh God. So gross. And then they escape and then another Superman song comes on.
Oh, that's right. But when he's running, he's like has the he still has his
makeup. As they're driving away, like that makeup on his face looks so gross. He's still in his bikini.
It's so gross, but it's so good. Like I'm just like, oh
wow, his eyeshadow, his blush. Really working for him-ish. Another montage scene. They're pranks. They're driving. They're dancing. The pranks were the whole whipped cream thing, and Ish does it back to Roy, and he like breaks his nose. The one part was so fucking funny. I was like, oh, do Amish people do this? Claudia pops open a bottle of bubbly, offers it to him. He's like, oh no, all like disgusted face. Cut to he has an 18-inch bong, and he's just like ripping bowls out of that thing.
And they're just like, what?
Now they're finally in Reno. These kinds of comedies, like throwing however many jokes per minute, that the sequel to Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels had way too many jokes per minute. This movie was pretty well paced with the jokes. So it let you enjoy those things like
Jefferson's on ice. Look at that. I love Sherman Helmsley.
But they wake up afterwards because I guess they
TV Land.
TV Land. They had like a bender. And then Ish sees a tattoo on his chest. He freaks out.
Oh my God, he freaks.
Poor guy.
And it's just like a little small, maybe like.
It was a shamrock.
Yeah, it's like maybe like a little nickel-sized shamrock.
And then afterward, he kind of comes around to it and he's like, I guess it's not that bad. But then he turns around and then the tattoo on his back.
Yeah. And he goes, what? It's like this big old, what was it?
It's like a busty lady.
Yeah.
And then they enter the casino and then you bump into Chris Elliott, who everyone know him as Woogie in Something About Mary, or later on as Roland Shit in Schitt's Creek. This part threw me off because I was like, wait, I don't remember him being in this movie. Like, what the fuck is his role? You know, he has like a beautiful head of hair, and he's like this really rich gambler, and you know, he notices the three after Ish blows on the dice and rolls a good number.
Because he's very like doesn't know what's going on, so he grabs the dice and he just does it.
But Chris Elliott is another person who plays like a gross weasel scumbag really well. And he like licks his lips and he looks at them and like nothing comes of it until afterwards. And we'll get to that.
We'll get to that later. I think after that, they bump into
Big Ern. And at this point, Big Ern has lost most of his hair, and then he has like the whole floppy hair thing.
Oh yeah, because he's trying to comb it over and it's just horrible.
And just reminds you of how much of a dick he is. He tells Roy,
I heard a horrible rumor. Oh, creepy. I'm sorry. You know, for the first couple years, I felt responsible. How you been otherwise?
He just kind of like keeps bashing on them, but he kind of like also like hits on the girls that are walking by.
Oh, constantly.
Like, yeah.
And he was with Claudia.
Oh yeah,
he's an ex of Claudia.
Yeah, because that's how they start. It's like Claudia, and she's like,
Ugh. So he keeps poking and prodding, and Ish in the past doesn't want to fight people, but since he loves Roy so much, he breaks that rule.
And he like disrespected Miss Claudia.
And so he goes to punch Big Ern,
but he ducks
and hits the pillar, and then breaks his hand.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh dude. So then of course later Roy has to play in the Reno competition with a rubber hand. Could you play with a rubber hand? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I thought he would be like using his left hand.
Because when you bowl, you actually have to like let go with your fingers, and his hand doesn't move. It's just like a rubbery, stiff, static, squeaky thing.
We go back, and then Miss Claudia's
Stan, the ex,
yeah, the ex comes back while she's up in the room, and just basically tells her like, "Let's go," like kind of blackmails her in a way. Takes the money.
No, he threatens to beat the shit out of Roy and Ish.
Oh, that's right.
And she's like, well, let me save those two boys who I love now. And let me just convince Stan that I love him again. And then we'll take the $42,000 that we made gambling. And then we'll run off with him. And she does, and they do. And when Roy and Ish come back, they're so pissed because Roy's like, fuck, I was wrong. My judgment barometer was off.
It was like I was trusting people again. I was turning my life around.
And so they're bummed out and they're drinking at the bar. And Roy's like, what are we going to do? Like, we have $42,000 we just lost out on.
You have a broken hand.
So who's going to bowl? And it's just like,
I'm not going to bowl. You are.
You are such a loser. You're a bona fide schmuck. Look at me.
But what happens within that?
Oh, Roy has a fantasy, which I thought wasn't a fantasy.
Same until like after it's like he's like
he looks in the glass, and Chris Elliott, the guy with the suave hair, he comes up and he's like, I have a proposal for you two. I want you two to sleep
with one another.
Yeah, for $1 million.
$1 million.
And I was like, wait, that's the plot to the movie Indecent Proposal. I know Demi Moore's in it, and I know Robert Redford is that Chris Elliott character, but I was like, wait, who plays the person? And I looked into it, and it was Woody Harrelson, like referencing his own movie.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but then it turns out it was just a
dream,
a fever dream,
yeah,
a drunken fever
like
dream.
a little passed out on the bar.
It was I think it was like a weird out of nowhere like setup just to make that Indecent Proposal joke.
Yeah.
But what convinces Roy to go forward and actually bowl is they see a commercial playing.
I'm Ernie McCracken. When I found out little Billy here was growing up without a daddy, I had to do something.
When Big Ern saw our picture in the paper, he called the Unified Fund and got involved.
I had to. Couldn't help myself. There's also a little Jason here.
Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, Mr. McCracken's already there.
It's a tough world. These kids nearly got Munson. Through the Unified Fund, I found out that if you give a little, you can get back a whole lot more.
So gross.
Oh, God. I'm not going to quote any of those ones. It's just so demeaning. So they enter the championship. It's, kind of like that scene in 1979. And he's walking in like, yeah, I got the mojo. And he picks up someone's pizza to eat it. And the guy's like, hey, what are you doing? Give me that back.
Yeah.
Because he's a nobody now.
He's nobody.
I love the line. Ish goes, wow, it's so intimidating to be surrounded by some pro athletes. And they pan around and it's like all the bowlers are like fat and they're drinking beer and eating pizza.
Yeah.
It's like that and golf are the only two sports, and billiards where you can be like completely out of shape.
Oh, yeah.
Fun fact, the announcer, the master of ceremonies, is John Popper, who's a singer of the Blues Travelers band, who later at the end of the movie, they dress up in like Amish garb.
Yes.
And they're playing like the outro stuff. That's a good band, by the way. I didn't know much about Blues Traveler until I was listening to the Heidi and Frank show on 95.5 KLOS. And they were playing some songs, and I went down the rabbit hole. It's a fucking good band.
Good music throughout the whole movie. I like it.
And then you finally get to see Roy start to bowl, and he has so many doubts about himself, and he's looking back at the crowd where Ish is, and the landlady's face is superimposed on Ish's body. He's like, oh. And it works, and he does a fucking fantastic job.
Gross.
More hand gags, by the way, of like his hand popping off, and then you get Bill Murray again, and then he had another montage, the whole bowling competition montage.
Oh, yeah.
But the part that I love, and not only is this movie quotable, but it has been memeable. And the bit where Roy's getting interviewed. So, Roy Munson,
Let me ask you,
what
what
have you
have
been
you
all
been
of
doing
these
all these
years? And then he says,
Well, after the hand, there was the 80s, for a while, drinking. Yeah, a lot of drinking.
Are you still drinking?
No, I don't. That's behind me now. Why are you buying?
Another little fun fact. Earlier you brought up golfers.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 pro golfers, Billy Andrade and Brad Faxon, that appeared in the crowd, just to be members in the crowd.
Did you know that back row of the audience was cardboard cutouts?
Oh, no, I didn't.
I didn't know that either.
Did you know that most of the extras for that was like just friends or family? Because they didn't want to, they didn't
pay people?
Audition for people to like.
Oh, that's good. It was a good crowd, though.
It was.
I was like, oh, is this like a real, did they like cut in on an actual tournament? Because the ESPN hosts were real ESPN hosts.
Yeah.
Those ESPN hosts, they even compared Big Earn. Oh, Big Earn has done to bowling what Muhammad Ali has done for boxing. It's such a shit
my
comparison.
God.
And at this point, like, Claudia is still with Stan in the bar, and she sees Roy playing on ESPN.
Drinking, and she's like...
I think at that point, she gets inspired to, like, do her thing and get back to the boys. Which she doesn't do until, like, fucking way late, towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, but I think she waits for her time.
Yeah. Because at that point, what she's doing behind the scenes is she's scamming Stan so she can get the fuck out of her.
She's waiting for him to win that bet.
What bet?
He bet against Roy.
My favorite freaking part of the montage is just Bill Murray's hair. It like completely goes out of whack and it's just like hanging off of his head. He is comedy gold. Like, I love his showmanship.
He doesn't miss a beat.
At all, and how much of a dick he is.
He's just there. Also, as they're going through the tournament and they're beating the bowlers and they're kind of like, doing that thing where like your name's going higher and stuff.
Yeah.
The bowlers that Roy defeats are pro bowlers.
Okay.
Mark Roth and Randy Peterson. So they have like a little bit of pro athletes.
Cameo.
Yeah. But you wouldn't know unless you watched or pay attention to that.
I wouldn't know now. The only bowler I could probably name is Billy Hardwick, which is Chris Hardwick, King Nerd, Chris Hardwick's dad.
The dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the game, back to the movie. Roy picks up the 7-10 split, fucking nails it. And then at that point, Thomas, Ish's brother, finally pops up.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the struggle that Ish has about it. He's like, I'm not leaving over my dead body. And he goes, no, but we got to go. He goes, okay.
Okay. No fight. All right.
And then unfortunately, Big Earn fucking wins with Bill Murray actually getting 3 strikes in a row. So that reaction, that crowd reaction, Bill Murray's reaction is real. It's all that ecstaticness. That Three Stooges run on the floor.
Oh yeah,
is hilarious. And what a dick. He goes to shake Roy's hand. He pulls his hand off and throws it to the crowd. And did you catch when Bigger and celebrating? He's like, I can buy the law now. I'm above the law. I can buy my way out of anything. What an asshole.
Yeah, like he's gonna, like he has more things planned out for himself.
Evil. I want to see, did they ever do a sequel? I want to see something. I would love to have seen something where they have done like an immediate sequel with Bill Murray.
There's not an immediate sequel, but while I was researching,
Roy does get his hand back, by the way.
Oh yeah, by the janitor.
Yeah, he stays afterwards. He's all fucking bummed.
In 2021, I guess there was talks about a sequel.
And that's like during the time where people were trying to do the requels, like rebooting the sequels, or I mean, hell, when did you don't have to look this one up, but like Dumb and Dumber 2 came out 20 years after Dumb and Dumber 1 with the original cast. I don't want to see my actors getting that old. I don't want to have my sequels 20 years after.
Yeah.
You know? Like we talked about it with the Halloween.
Oh, yeah. I think it's because the movie didn't do well in theaters that it probably wasn't offered a sequel.
Well, you would imagine, though, like it having enough of a cult following that, I don't know, something would have happened. But
yeah.
I think the Farrelly Brothers kind of like split from doing movies together. I didn't know that Peter Farrelly ended up doing The Green Book with Mahershala Ali.
Peter Farrelly, I was actually Woody Harrelson's roommate.
No kidding. Oh,
fun fact.
Fun fact.
With Elva.
Hey, you leave the production up to me.
Okay.
Now Roy's in the gutter. Roy's in the gutter. And he gets jumped by Stan and the goon because he's like, where's Claudia?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Claudia.
But it's that stupid thing where like he could have gotten killed, but he's like, well, maybe did you ever think that it was your fault? Because maybe it was my fault. And we all learned a lesson to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Silly.
And then what is it?
1 week later.
She pops up.
She comes back as Roy is like, he's now sober. And he's dumping out.
He's dumping out the alcohol.
All of his shelves.
I did not know that was all the cabinets.
That reminds me of my 20s. I thought, by the way, that her coming back was a dream sequence.
Really?
Because it was out of nowhere. I'm like, why wait that long? Why come now? And did you ever know where he lived?
I thought it was Ishmael coming and knocking on the door.
I thought so too. But she was offering him half of the money or however much left it was. And he shows her the check from Trojan. Because during the competition, by the way, they were calling him Rubber Man because of his hand.
Oh, yeah.
And so he just has to go around and do like talks and stuff like that as Rubber Man for $500,000. That ain't too shabby. But he doesn't want to split that money with her, but they still kind of make up, and then they go back to the farm with Ish, and not with Ish. So then they
for Ish.
Yeah, so then they go back to the farm for Ish, and Ish is surprised that they're there, and the dad is like, they told me about everything that had happened, the drinking, the gambling, and how you saved them. And he really did. Like,
yeah.
Ish is such a good guy through and through, and like, yeah, he was like kind of turning to the proverbial dark side a little bit. With the drinking and the smoking and the bongs and the stripping and the tattoos and should I stop now?
Yeah. I felt like this whole travel with Roy was like his what is it that they do when they leave?
Oh.
The Rumspringa?
Yeah, Rumspringa.
Yeah. I thought that was that, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
But yeah, the Lord saves. And then the dad lets him know that Roy paid the bank and they saved the land and he helped out, and
they're proud of him.
Very proud of him. And I'm proud of Ish, of like not turning more toward the dark side. And
yeah,
he dabbled. He had his Rumspringa, like you said.
Yeah.
But he does a duck stand again. He stands with his hands on his hips again. You too. I gotta keep my eyes on you. I swear to God, I'm pretty sure I heard Doug speak exactly like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he's quoting this movie or that's how he is. But
at this point, Douglas, if you listen this far, comment 2 pineapples. Then there's a touching moment between Ish and Roy, and Roy's quoting what Ish had said before about like some centurion thing and finding their way. And Ish looks at him blankly and goes, What? Yeah, I'm sorry, you lost me. What a dick. What a dummy. I love him. And then Claudia apparently like picked up the watch after Roy had threw it back in his childhood town.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, I got it running for you. He's like, wow, that's awesome. You
really
did?
Fixed it?
Yeah, I wound it. Oh, there's a winder on this thing? Him and his dad.
The whole time it worked and they just didn't know what to do.
The whole time?
The whole time.
And Roy and Claudia kiss and they ride off into the sunset. They're good for each other, I think. And then you have to have a Farrelly Brothers moment.
My brother Muncie, my
Credits and Blues Travelers in Amish garb. The song's a fucking banger. Montage, the last montage of the movie of them all dancing.
And then the credits after.
Oh, and then a blooper of Lynn Shay.
Oh, yeah.
She's going off on it.
She's just different directions.
Okay, cut. And that's it. We saw, or I saw Kingpin again, and you saw Kingpin for the first time.
Yes, yes.
Now, one thing before I ask you the Rotten Tomatoes score is it didn't have a good following immediately. Like we sort of, heavy-handed hinted at everything. Again, $32.2 million it made.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot. And the Farrelly Brothers considered it like a flop. They were super bummed out by it. But again, once it hit the shelves, the VHS, it became an immediate cult following, and people fucking love this movie to this day.
It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. It's fucking hilarious. There's never not a moment that's not funny.
I wouldn't mind watching it later on.
Nice. Right on.
Yeah.
Dude.
Give it like a couple months or so.
I'm teaching you all the good stuff.
Oh my goodness.
So, it's now my turn to guess the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Okay, well, what would you...
I personally would have given this movie a 70 out of 100.
And is that as a tomato meter or the audience?
No, me personally.
Okay.
I think that the Rotten Tomato meter critics, I think that they gave it a 50, and I think that the audience score gave it a 60, 70.
Ooh, okay. You're very close with the tomato meter.
Yes. Okay.
They gave it a 49.
Critics?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
An audience score gave it a 69.
Dude, can we give myself some fucking credit
you
of like how close I've been to all of these things? So, thank you. You guys, I try my best. I put this stuff together. I try to perceive these movies in a professional way. And, where did the audience go?
I told him to go away.
I have final cut. God damn it. What were your thoughts about this movie overall? Other than obviously you would suggest people to go see it, and you're gonna rewatch it. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, I would make sure that they watch it. If they have their downtime, watch it.
Yeah,
yeah, especially if they haven't seen it.
Like, again, like I said, these types of comedies, I don't think you can do them nowadays. They belong in the 90s, and I'm glad that we had them. And we can at least rewatch them and enjoy them because they happened in the 90s.
Definitely, yeah.
So at least we have them to stream. Where did we watch this one on?
HBO.
HBO.
Or I'm sorry, Max.
Sorry, come at us, Max.
But it made me want to go bowling.
Oh man, it's been a while since we've been bowling. You're pretty good.
Yeah.
You're pretty good. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
I bowl against you any day.
Okay.
Any other final words?
No, that's about it.
Well, let's do what we do and let's wrap this shit up. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our ADHD-ness and our goofiness.
Woo-woo.
This has been yet another episode of You Haven't Seen That. I'm Isaac.
And I'm Alva.
Check us out on our social media at Forehead Films, FOREHED Films. Again, we don't just do these things, but we also do movie reviews. And I know we've been busy like with podcasts and other stuff, but some of the recent reviews that we've had out is Exorcist Believer, video review on that. We did the Hype Attack did a review on The Creator.
Yes.
And then soon we're going to review Five Nights at Freddy's.
So stay tuned for that one.
Stay tuned for that one. So check
special guest.
Yeah, special guest. Oh my gosh. Yeah, new people. So in the meantime, though, folks, why don't you hit us up in the comments, in the DMs?
Tell us what the next movie should be.
Yeah, tell it. Ooh. Yeah, let us know.
We'll see if we've seen it or not.
But in the meantime, also tell us some movies you missed that have people asking the question. You haven't seen that? Later, folks.
Bye.
Catch you next time.